And my dad's birthday is coming up. So this is a perfect opportunity for me to try out some cool new baking stuff. And at my mom's house, I found this really funky looking cake pan. I think it's supposed to be like treetops or something. Still pretty cool, and it's never been used, so I think it's time to give it a try. I'm going to be making this Bundt cake. This is actually a gluten-free spice Bundt cake. This is from the Cooking Light Gluten-Free Baking. It's been a fantastic cookbook for me. However, I'm going to be taking notes because I'm going to be changing around some of the ingredients or adding things, and I want to be able to write it down so I can know if it turned out well or if it didn't turn out well. So I have my different types of flours. I actually have extra ones I want to add. One of those also being the coconut flour. Whenever you use coconut flour, you've got to add a little bit more liquid because it's super, super absorbent. I'm going to use just a tiny bit of this. And we're going to start with the scale. All of these recipes use this scale. I'm going to use about the same amount of rice flour in it. I have white rice flour. It works in the place of brown rice as well. Tapioca. This is also called tapioca starch. It's very light and powdery. I have used cornstarch or arrowroot starch in its place before as well. I'm going to add a little bit more of this actually because I'm going to be using some other flours that are heavier. I have my sweet sorghum flour. This is the key to making it sweet tasting. This is all I have left. I need to buy some more. This is why I grabbed other flours to do any filler if I need to. So I'm just going to see what I have left of this and try to compensate with other flours. I'm going to add a little millet just because I want it to be a little bit hearty, but not too heavy. Just a smidgen. I'm only going to add about this much of the coconut flour. Most of these gluten-free recipes require xanthan gum. This is going to give it some stickiness to it. You could also use guar gum if you didn't have xanthan gum. Pink salt. For my baking soda, because I added a little bit more flour, I'm just going to add a smidge more of baking soda. So it calls for 2 teaspoons. I'm going to probably do about 2 1/4. For my spices, it calls for 2 1/4 teaspoons of cinnamon. I just have some cinnamon sugar here. It'll still work. I don't go exact with these. See, it's kind of like rounded. Same with this. This is going to end up being about a half, but I like cinnamon, so it's nice when these shakers have a little pouring part to it. Makes it easier to do this. Now I need some ground nutmeg, but I only found the whole nutmeg root like this, but you can grate it yourself if you have a fine grater, or this is like a zester. I just have to kind of eyeball it and hope that I have right about the amount that I need. Oops. Nutmeg, it looks like brains when you grate it. I don't know why, it just looks like little brains or something to me. Kind of cool looking designs. Now we're going to do our wet ingredients. So I'm going to start them in the mixer. So we need 1 cup of sugar. I have my cane sugar here. You can use white sugar. Just check and see if it's vegan, kosher, or halal certified. I have a vegan substitute. This has been sitting out, so it's relatively soft. Ideally, you would want it to cream up completely and be super smooth and fluffy, but because I'm making some changes to this recipe, I decided also to add to the spice flavor. I'm going to add a little molasses. Probably going to only add the equivalent of about a teaspoon. Oh, this is messy stuff. And then this calls for honey. I'm not going to use honey because I want to make this vegan, but I have these super ripe bananas. I'm going to add them. When they're real ripe, they're real soft and very sweet. This calls for 2 eggs, but I'm going to be using this egg replacer. Now this says on here to do 1 tablespoon of the egg replacer and like 2 tablespoons of water. I find that it's too thick and goopy if I do that, so I do 3 tablespoons roughly of water. But I have the equivalency of like 2 eggs made out of this. So we're going to put that into it. Our applesauce, I don't have any big things, but I have the small ones with no sugar added. This calls for 1.5 cups. I'm actually going to add 2 because remember we used coconut flour and that absorbs a lot more liquid. So this also calls for canola oil, but I'm just going to use some coconut oil. I stuck it in the microwave for about 20 to 30 seconds just to get it liquidy enough. I've also decided I wanted to add some almond flavor to the actual bundt cake. Okay, this is just combined how I want it to be. It's going to be ready to put in the pan. So this pan is really weird, and the first time I tried using it, it was a hot mess. And then I read the instructions, and it said, actually don't use regular baking spray. That's not going to work. You need to get like shortening or butter and brush it on. Well, I didn't have like a baker's brush, so I went and I found this in my dad's garage. It was brand new, open. I just kind of wash it off. So this is now going to be dubbed the food one, and I'm going to use coconut oil on this. At least I'm going to try to use coconut oil. I'm not usually a big fan of shortening, but it's got the consistency I need, and I don't have any vegan butter thawed out, like softened out on hand, so we're just going to use some shortening and work it in there. So I have over here a bowl of flour. I mixed some rice and some of the millet, and I'm going to use that to kind of coat it. I'm going to actually shake it over my bowl because it's not going to hurt it to end up back in the recipe. So we can finally put the rest of our batter inside this. By the way, if you keep hearing me like walk off, I'm going to throw stuff in the sink in between. I'm going to shake it a little bit to try to get all those air bubbles out and get it all the way in there. Just have a little bit more batter to add. This is going to expand when cooking. Hopefully not too much. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I actually just kind of throw all my stuff in the sink as I go. Put a little water, let it soak, and then I put as much of it as I can in the dishwasher before going and hand washing what's left. I try to do this while the stuff is baking and whatever things I need to get done, just trying to multitask and make it easier. Okay, my timer is done. This has only been 1 hour. Oof, all that steam. Okay, it looks pretty good to me. So I'm going to take my skewer. I just have a metal one. I'm going to stick it into the thickness of it. Comes out clean. All right. We can cancel the I'm going to take this out and let it cool for probably about 10 minutes before I try to flip it and see how well it comes out. Because I'm turning the oven off, you can, as long as you don't have small children or animals or something walking around, give it a couple minutes to let all that extra heat escape. Just cools it down a little bit faster. It is now the moment of truth. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, that's so cute. Oh my, it's crumbling and falling apart on this side. This is like steaming hot right here. I don't want it to fall apart completely. I kind of want it to cool. So I might just keep this on top of it. Well, I don't know if I'll get it back on the same way it was. Okay. I'm going to let it cool a little bit more like this. And once it's completely cool, I'm going to do a little bit of a fun little glaze, which I will show y'all. This is my failed attempt from yesterday. This one's made with regular wheat flour. I think my failure in it was maybe I added a little too much baking soda, and I tried putting like this apple jam stuff in the middle, and it just kind of like became a hot mess. That, and I didn't grease the pan properly. I used regular spray. I didn't use. When I tried to flour, it didn't work as well. I needed a much heavier thing. I probably should have buttered it and done it. Would have come out a lot better. All right, this is cooled pretty well. It's still kind of warm, but it's cooled down a lot. I used the silicone mat it was on to put it on a cooling rack to try to cool it faster. Now I'm going to attempt to get it onto this pretty platter. I'm not really sure. This feels like a really fragile cake. The regular Bundt pans tend to come out okay. Maybe I'll get a spatula. Okay, I have this long one here. Let's see if maybe. Oh man. Oh, it's falling apart. Extra flour definitely makes them look snow topped. But I'm going to make a glaze and I will show you how to do that. For this glaze, we pretty much just need powdered sugar. I'm using almond extract because that's what I used in the cake and I kind of want it to match that. If you're making a normal glaze, you probably want to use vanilla. You can use milk or a plant-based milk if you need extra liquid. I'm going to use water because I don't have that. I'm also going to put a little butterfly pea flour powder because I want it to be a little fun. This is blue. It doesn't have a really strong taste. So I'm just going to add like a smidgen of it. Probably more than a smidgen, but it'll work. I'm going to do my almond flavoring. I'm going to just do half a teaspoon. It'll get really strong. I'll use that to start dissolving my pea flour powder. I have my powdered sugar. This one is kosher and halal. And I do want it slightly runnier than this, but this is pretty close to the consistency you want. This is the consistency that I'm going to want it to drizzle. So I'm going to go ahead and start drizzling it. If I need to make another batch, I'll make another batch. Okay, I fully coated it pretty much how I wanted it to be, and it kind of covers up that crazy mess over here. And I know that I got a bunch of drippage around here. I'm fine with that, but if you don't want that, when you go to glaze your Bundt, you can put it on a rack. That way all the extra drips off. Because I'm using a nice silver platter, I'm not going to use a super sharp knife to cut it. Just going to use this baking tool. Yum! And those bits of banana in there are pretty good too. Let's taste it. And this one's gluten-free and vegan, so I can absolutely try this. That's good. That's real good. Got a little piece of banana. Looks like I have invented a new recipe for myself. It's one of those things when you take a recipe and you just kind of change a little bit of the ingredients, you customize it and make it your own.